Hello and welcome all of you to the 16th Marketing Conclave. Let's start a panel discussion on use of emerging technologies to the art of marketing. We have with us our moderator, Mr. Snehashis Khan. He is currently working as the head of partnerships for Asia, Pacific and Middle East for Telesign. Prior to Telesign, he has worked with product management and marketing at HCL, Vodafone and Xfinite. Now we have our panelists, Mr. Karthik Sathuragiri. Karthik leads marketing for automation anywhere across India, Middle East and Africa. In his earlier roles, Karthik led global marketing with Freshworks and Akamai. Karthik brings his unique experience across fast-growing startups to this discussion. Mr. Rajesh Kumar. Rajesh is currently CMO India and South Asia for UiPath. Prior to this, he was working with companies like SAP, Microsoft, HCL, Perfetti, and Pernod. He has closely seen the evolution of marketing in the tech industry of Asia Pacific over the last 2 decades. And finally, we have Mr. Vikram Tanna. He is the CEO of Mzaalo. He has built and managed digital gaming, broadcast, and music businesses with curiosity and strategic creativity. Vikram has designed valuable user brand experiences for customer-centric entertainment ecosystems like Discovery, News Corp, and Viacom. Welcome to all of you. Dear delegates, please keep posting your questions in the chat box. The panel may pick a few and answer to you in the end. Over to you, Mr. Khan.
Hey, thanks a lot, Srishti, for the introduction. A very good afternoon to all of you. Thank you, IMAI, for setting up this session on use of emerging technologies to the art of marketing. As we all know, a transformation of marketing is underway as we spend more time on our mobiles, laptops, tablets. And the challenge for brands is to connect with customers through all these devices in real time and create messaging that work across platforms. As we all know, marketing is concerned with understanding a consumer's or a client's motivations and using these insights to create messaging that promote and establish the brand as eventually drive sales. The technology used to achieve this, however, requires skills in mathematics, statistics, and computing. How can these two different areas of work together effectively? It should come as no surprise that firms today across industries, so whether it's retailing, manufacturing, healthcare, financial, are steadily increasing their technology spend, as well as optimizing their cost on promotion spending to get the best ROI. We at Telesign have been working with clients on consumer marketing, helping them validate genuineness of mobile numbers prior to running campaigns, which in effect helps them optimize their campaigns, get better ROIs, as well as reduce load on their network. So let us today understand from our esteemed panel what they are doing today and how they are going to leverage technology in their respective domains. I would like to start by asking our panel here today if they can share what is it that you are doing in your respective business today. I would request Rajesh probably to go first and then probably followed by Karthik and then Vikram. Rajesh?
Yeah, thanks, Snehashis, and thank you for inviting me in the panel. Really pleased to be here today. These are really interesting times, and it's actually time to put ourselves in a customer's shoes as a marketer and think what value means to them. And as a company, we are in a B2B business. Therefore, our customers are companies. They are all struggling with how to keep their businesses running, while taking care of their employees' well-being and making processes work. And what's happened in this scenario is everybody is trying to understand how to run processes and businesses without dependency on manual handoff. And that's where we come in, and we are working with companies, we are working with governments, we are working with public institutions to help them maintain continuity. And we're doing some very interesting things with them, helping them manage bank loan moratoriums, helping airlines and hotels manage large volume of cancellations and reservation changes, helping governments on quarantine data collection and e-pass, and helping hospitals and healthcare manage large volume of inflow of patients, and saving time on transactions, which is paperwork and processes, and making sure health workers have maximum time with patients. So it's really adapting your solutions and offerings for the relevance in current times, and I think that's where marketing and its role comes in.
Thank you, Rajesh. Karthik?
Sure, thanks, Nesis. So the way I look at this is, I was reading an article in HBR last week, and there was this startling graph which compared CMO salaries with COO salaries and CTO salaries. And I've never thought much about comparing CMO salaries with other CXO salaries. But the astounding stat there is the CMO salary is over the last 20 years has gone down from where it started compared to the CTO salaries, which has gone up by 150%. CFO salaries are growing up by 20%. And interestingly, both the COO salary and the CMO salary in the S&P 500 index, when they look at public companies and their executive salaries, is kind of coming down. And what is causing this, and the tenure of CMO also, right, is I think the average tenure of a CMO today is something less than 3 years. And this is also less compared to a CFO or a CTO who have something around 4 or 5 years. So clearly, it kind of got me thinking. Professors have written about it, but I think as I think about it, it kind of alludes to some of the things that you're talking about, right? Which is how should marketing learn from technology? How should marketing learn from our peers who are sitting across, who are adapting agile? They are doing growth hacking in a way. You can call it digital marketing or whatever it is. But I think to Rajesh's point, right, aligning better to the business, understanding customer value. So there are so many facets about marketing, but the whole concept of this being undefined and crazy expectations from stakeholders, right? I think one of the things that is always a challenge is the CEOs don't define the CMO role as much as they would a CFO role. So it starts from kind of putting together a clear set of OKRs. So I think in this moment of disruption, what I see is I think this is the time to invest in your brand while taking care of demand gen. So that has not gone away. But this is the time to disrupt yourself by hacking marketing, by making marketing more real time, right? So if your customers are searching for new terms, if your customers don't know what problem you are solving, but they are looking for the problem rather than the brand. So those are all challenges that we need to look at data real time. We need to see how we could do daily experiments, daily huddles, daily agile methodologies that an engineering team typically invests in as a very structured methodology, right? So we need a new playbook for marketing, and that playbook for marketing is really hacking to provide better value to the businesses that we operate in. And being in the digital transformation business, Rajesh and I represent the same industry. The biggest challenge for us is our customer needs, and the technology is evolving so fast, and marketing in some ways is struggling to keep pace with this whole concept of digital transformation within marketing. Whether it's marketing technology, whether it's marketing automation, there is just a lot of challenges and solutions that we are looking at. So it's a very, very interesting time that we are opening this discussion.
Thanks for that, Karthik. Thanks for that introduction. Vikram, how about you?
Thanks so much, Snehashis, and good afternoon to everyone. It is my pleasure to be a part of this esteemed panel, and it's a very apt time for us to have this discussion, especially from our company's perspective, where we are launching Mzaalo, a very, very unique platform. It is a gamified entertainment ecosystem, first of its kind, which is secured by blockchain. And in a unique manner, we are rewarding consumers for every single positive attribution on our platform, which is largely in terms of attention and time span. Blockchain, as you guys may know, ensures trust and transparency, and we are pretty gung-ho in terms of working on this across all the stakeholders in the ecosystem, namely, first of all, the users, which are really looking forward to platforms in terms of them giving their data privacy, something which they haven't enjoyed in the recent past as well across large global leaders. Secondly, content producers, where we ensure that they get the right kind of IP monetization from a perspective of guaranteeing them copyrights on the platform. And thirdly, which is most important, the monetization aspect of it, which is the advertiser, our third stakeholder. They've been facing a lot of ad spend, ROI leakages when it comes to ad frauds. So combating ad frauds is something which our platform will ensure. So it's wonderful to be on this panel and really look forward to some interactive discussion here.
Yeah, thanks for that, Vikram. Thanks to all of you. So, that was helpful. It was a good introduction. And this is a question now for Rajesh and Karthik. As marketeers, what is the main outcome that you see? Is it brand positioning or is it product sales? The ideal situation is, of course, to have a balance of both. And in that sense, how do you feel the best balance can be achieved?
I can take a start,
Yeah, sure.
if you like. So I'll build on what Karthik said. I think, essentially, we are in a very interesting category, which is still in early stages of evolution. So both pieces are quite interesting. In general, there isn't a lack of demand. In fact, this category is growing about 3 digits every year. Our focus is channelizing demand, more than actually generating or rekindling it. But I think brand is really important in B2B. I mean, actually, I tend to think more than B2C because people are making much larger value decisions. The decisions are usually for keeps. People don't change every day, and company tends to be the brand. And I mean, and typically it's a very complex decision making. And if I was buying, something small like maybe a consumer good like a paste, toothpaste, I could change. But in technology, it's much harder. People put their careers at stake, so it's not as rational it seems. But a lot of it is a human and emotional decision, which is where brand comes in quite handy. And people tend to identify with the values of the organization, and people want to do business with organizations and brands where they see themselves aligned. So definitely, I think brand is a huge part of B2B overall. Definitely in our category at this point of time because it's still evolving and people are building those relationships and affinities. Now, having said that, I think the demand is a good part, and we have chartered on us, like Karthik said, we are using so many technologies and every possible option we are testing and trying, how to channelize it meaningfully. And and what has happened is that, and I've seen evolve last few months, is that it's not limited to some clever advertising communication. At the end of the day, boils down to being authentic in terms of your brand. Somewhat live what your brand promises to be, and be very thoughtful about your demand. When people are struggling, like I said, for their employee safety or business continuity, last thing is they want is somebody doing some hard push salesy campaign or push them again and again. That's actually likely to alienate them. And I'll pass on to Karthik.
Yeah, no, I'll expand on Rajesh's bang on when he says this, right? It is a hot category, and in a hot category, I think we are seeing consumerization of B2B in some way, and especially within marketing, because you have a lot of interest in this category, a lot of highly qualified people are looking for solutions, and they are seeking solutions by function, by industry. So their search needs are very complex. Their problem statement is very complex, and they are putting their careers in line when they make a decision, because if it goes wrong, the price you pay for is your career growth, right? So I believe in this saying that when somebody is buying your product, they are buying a better version of themselves. They are not buying your product, right? They are buying a promotion, and that is a promise of promotion is what in large leading enterprise brands offer. But I think what I would reflect on is the skill sets that are changing within marketing, right? So earlier marketing was primarily driven by field marketing or product marketing, depending on whether you're sitting in the headquarter or in the region. But today, I think PR plays a big role. The concept of content creation and being very innovative about that plays a big role, because people want to see real solutions, right? They don't want to see what you did for a Fortune 500 company in some other territory. They want to see what you did for a company in their industry, in their territory, with their regulatory challenges within their function. So how do you stay relevant and how do you stay personalized is a big goal. And how do you enable very personal experiences, right? So when a CFO comes to your website, how do you show something that is relevant? Because if he's seeing the challenges of a CIO when a CFO comes to the website, you lost it. You lost the holy grail of personalization. So I think, how do you structure these customer journeys? How do you make them relevant? How do you do that with, again, innovative thinking, daily experimentation, and technology is now what we are focused on. So the skill set has become a lot more about not just about digital, right? But it's kind of putting together those micro journeys. So if somebody has a LinkedIn audience building skill set, and if somebody can do a good job with that, that is a lot more valued than somebody, let's say, have relationship with hotels or has a great creative design kind of a mindset, right? So the value in some of those micro journeys, if I can call it that way, right? So creating that is real now, and I think that is when a lot of that happens. I think that's when the CMO salary will catch up with the CTO salary. I'm just making it simplistic.
Yes, coming back to your last, the point you made, Karthik. So we have a CMO here. We also have a CEO here. So maybe at the end of it, we can just discuss the salary disparity. But I think you touched upon a good point about the emerging skill sets, right? And probably Vikram, I know the skill sets are changing, right? But Vikram, in your experience, what has been the key change in way, either whether it's about your approach or you see in the industry to marketing in the last 5 years? And while you speak, Vikram, I mean, I'll also request Rajesh and Karthik to also join in, because what you've seen as a change and probably what you also foresee, I think that's important.
Yeah. So, when you say last 5 years, to me, the last 5 months have seen such a large digital transformation. I would probably say that the cumulative change in the last 5 months has been much larger than the last 5 years. And this digital explosion, as a result of a lot of changes in the environment, has given to massive numbers, millions of users of digital natives, but at the same time have got traditionalists shifted on from offline mode to online mode. So this opens up really what we say is the world of possibilities. And from our end, I believe a three-pronged approach has given us massive learning curves in this aspect. Firstly, speed. So while we have the likes of AI, chatbots, and a lot of things and technology tools that help us, I must admit that consumer today is moving at the speed of light. And for any and every marketer, you have to be on your toes to even get near to the consumer. Secondly, there are tech stacks designed which can ensure personalization, which is the key. However, we must remember, and I'm sure Rajesh specifically maybe have a view on that, and Karthik as well. And I must admit personally, saying that the consumer is a human first. We can have all the technology and the AI tools there, but when we build personalization, we need to think human first, because there are emotional needs to be addressed, which a marketer must do. And thirdly, which according to me is the most important, is data privacy for consumers. There is no second chance, there is no mistake, whether it's a budding startup or a global leader. So largely these three are important perspectives from my end in how we see learning curves are built and how we see the approach to marketing should be kept in mind.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Vikram, for that. And I think very relevant what you said. You're right. The last 5 months or maybe a year has seen much more changes, transformation than probably the 5 years before that. Completely agree. But speaking on personalization, and that's something Rajesh and Karthik can step in, because you are coming from a B2B marketing experience. How important is personalization in that space? And again, how have you seen the transformation in your segment, in your industry, in that segment in the last one year now? I'll probably curtail it from 5 years to 1 year. But how has that happened?
I can start it. Rajesh can go next.
Yeah, go ahead.
So no, I spoke a little bit about the role-based customer journeys, right? And I think when people, especially in the situation that we are facing of job security being a very paramount thing, people want to stick within their company. The concept of job security has become more important than ever. and you combine that with the earnest need to educate themselves, right? So today they are not just coming to buy, but they are coming to educate, they are coming to learn. And you need to kind of work within these two primary needs to kind of stitch together customer journeys, right? So I think that's where a lot of effort and investments have kind of gone in, whether it's we've invested heavily in areas like developer evangelism, helping customers learn about the product. So the learning journey is kind of more important than ever. So that is something that I definitely we continue to see. And within this personalization, so the personal needs kind of become very, very important for us. The second thing I want to kind of mention is also how the sales function is kind of evolving, right? Because sales and marketing, we are in this together, and then B2B, the sales function is also an important constituent or a customer for us. And the way they are engaging because of a lack of the personal touch. So the concept of this Rolodex wearing salesman has kind of gone through a change. Everybody is on Zoom or WebEx or whatever the technology is. So how do you enable the sales guys to do first calls better? How should they construct their deal journeys, right? So on the one hand, the customer journey is getting disrupted, the customer needs are getting disrupted. On the other hand, the sales, how they are engaging with customers are getting disrupted. So marketing kind of plays a balancing role between the two, enabling that, educating that, and kind of evolving that with technology. So that is something that I clearly see, which was not the case just a few months back.
Thanks, Karthik. Over to you, Rajesh.
Yeah, I think I'll pick up from what Karthik said. I think there are 2 or 3 trends that we've seen evolve over last whatever months. And I think our industry works in 6 monthly cycles. So planning is 6 monthly, marketing is 30-day cycle. So we are more prone to that time than anybody else. And I think the discussion of and you've seen those joke everywhere. What is causing digital transformation? CEO, CIO, or COVID? It's clearly COVID. And I think it has happened because, rather than being an add-on consideration, it has become the only consideration. It's also forcing customers to accept that as a way of engaging and, all constituents to do so, which I definitely think as things ease out will drive a significant adoption, which is more than before. So I think what I will say 2, 3 trends, one, I think the subscription economy has brought a fundamental mindset change from everything in marketing or demand creation, being leading up to a large deal to driving a successful customer experience. Because if you look at our industry, most people who are bought in early scale are probably using less than a 1% of what they can. So it really depends on what their experience is. So the potential for upsell, cross-sell is significant. So it's really important what happens after the sale, in many ways more than what happens before the sale. That I think is quite a fundamental change, not only in marketing, but also in overall sales and marketing balance of equation or power, if it were, in the organization. Second thing that has happened is somewhat democratization of technologies happen at 2 levels. First, like Karthik said, it's user driven. We are part of an industry which is talking of a low code or a no code movement where we are letting the subject matter expert do their technology and not go to another expert. It's going to gradually become like electricity or internet or any other utility where you'll be able to do what you need to do without going to expert. I mean, you may go when you need something extra, but usually not. And then the third thing, I think, irrespective of which vertical you are in, every business has become a technology business. So it is a CEO topic as well. So how does technology really make an impact on the business? That is changing a lot. So therefore, I would say the line of B2B, B2C in many ways is blurred. The basics of marketing and basics of business have come into play. How do you really add value? And how does it become tangible? And how do you provide them an experience that they want to repeat? And I will see, technology is being subservient to them. Sometimes we tend to put cart before the horse. I will do that. Technology stacks and companies and providers keep changing. And I think, but at a higher level, I would say there are things which can be replicated, which usually come around scale or, you know, doing more things quicker, faster at 24 by 7. I mean, I think human intelligence, I would rate, is still way higher than artificial intelligence. So one shouldn't mix up and put one before the other, which usually ends up providing that botched experience. That's my take on this.
Thanks for that, Rajesh. I mean, very interesting to know that, right? And I think it was leading me on to the question that I had for you, and probably we've touched upon a bit of the challenges in your area. Look, we understand while you say the line between the B2B marketing and B2C marketing is probably blurring, but then typically a thought process on a B2B marketing versus a direct to marketing is very different, right? What you think and what you do. Specific to a B2B marketing, while you mentioned some of the challenges, I think it'd be interesting to understand how do you plan to use the emerging technologies to overcome that?
Yeah, I think there are two areas, where we are seeing technology coming. One, and we've seen this accelerate a lot more in the current crisis. There are a lot of smaller size businesses are coming up and they want to adopt new technologies. I mean, we have companies who've been traditionally selling edible oil or selling sleeping mattresses. They probably wouldn't think of work from home. The situation has forced them to think how to do things without manual handoff. Now, as they come to us, which means that, a long tail of businesses, SMEs is waking up. So how do we tackle it? So which is where your traditional all technologies, which are helping in funnel management, marketing automation, nurturing, qualification, and so on and so forth. All those are uh, quite useful for us. And a lot of those pieces now we are gradually applying our own technology, which is automation and AI, which is helping us do those much more smarter and connect that to the intelligence that is the data is showing us. The second area, which is the larger accounts, like I said, they have typically deployed less than a percentage of what they do. So it is growing in scope both horizontally and vertically, and it is gradually becoming a board topic because the whole idea of digital transformation has at least been around for a decade. But in the existing landscape of legacy technologies, it just requires too much of rip and replace. And the reality is that businesses, technology follows the business, not the other way around. But the new age of technology, which Karthik and I are part of, this works at a different layer. So it doesn't really matter what you have. It is non-invasive. It works and replicates action, like a human will do. So that's opening up a completely new area. And with these organizations, we are doing what is classically called account-based marketing. And a lot of the new digital technologies are coming in handy there to weave across different constituents of that account, different decision makers, across functions, across geographies, how you weave them together and have a unified narrative for them. And then how do you capture the demand signals and pull them together to see, what is emanating from there, and how do you work with that. So that's an area where there is a significant of technology, and it's still evolving. There are not a lot of companies playing in that space. So we're trying to work across them, and then also, again, how do we combine then with AI and automation we do to pull together a approach.
Thanks, Rajesh. Karthik, how about you? What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, no, I echo with Rajesh. The only thing I would add is when we look at this functionally, right? So if you just compare marketing automation with, let's say, finance automation or even a sales automation. Today, marketing automation, when people say marketing automation, some of the leading platforms is all about email marketing. They may do a little bit of digital ad placements, programmatic or whatever it is, but it's primarily email marketing, right? But if you look at the marketing function in itself, today, Rajesh's team or my team, we may be doing a lot of media buying like a traditional B2C company would. It may not be TV spots, but definitely print, definitely digital heavily. So how does true marketing automation look like, right? So can technology if not doing somebody's job, can it predict things? Can it simulate? Can it process? So I think those are all challenges marketing automation has still not gone there. I think today technology providers like a Google DoubleClick or an Adobe or any of these platforms, Marketo or any of these marketing automation platforms, they're all providing a point solution to a point problem. But the single integrated view of automation, unlike a finance automation, so if you look at a finance dashboard, right from your account receivable, account payable, all the way to a complex dashboard around your daily cash flow is automated. I think marketing, that single view that or a single system that automates everything is not there yet. So I think that's where Rajesh's company or my company, those are new use cases for us today. Only majority of the back-end functions are automated because they are repeatable. But if you look at the front-end functions like a sales or marketing, their automation extent is very low today. But I think that is happening today. People are making better pricing decisions. They're watching competition better. They're creating better nurture tracks with some of these automation technologies. But I think we are just getting started. So I think when that wave comes, right, automating the whole marketing operations stack, your whole reporting, your bets around which channel is working for you and things like that, I think there is a long way to go there.
Thanks, Karthik and Vikram. Just taking a cue from what Karthik and Rajesh said, right? For direct-to-consumer marketing, right? How differently do you think the emerging technologies will be used? And from an impact, do you think it'll have a higher impact on this direct-to-consumer versus a B2B probably? What are your thoughts?
Yes, absolutely. The consequences are far-reaching. If you look at the mantras in terms of what you would want to probably look at from a direct consumer marketing piece is largely the 3 C's. The consumer, the content, and the commerce. I would put it simply in this form. But most importantly, technology is at the center of every human interaction when you look at these 3 C's. When you start looking at a lot of marketing or MarTech design stacks, they are typically stitched together by taking in technology built from various MarTech companies, various marketing products coming together, which are tailored to suit your specific need, but you need to stitch them intelligently to create what I may say is a specific consumer algorithm for your brand, which will eventually help you to do 2 things. One is connect to communities, which is really building reach in a very, very simple language, but at the same time, communicate with the consumers, which is really an audience of one. So you have to communicate in a unique manner with technology to every single individual. And that to me is a real key when it comes to direct to consumer marketing.
Thanks, Vikram. And probably just one last question for you, Vikram, here. And I know we have a few audience questions after this, which we need to also answer. So successful consumer-centric marketing campaigns, also tend to draw potential fraudsters, misuse of, promotional offers, campaigns. How important do you think a mobile number-based validation service is effective to ensuring, using that technology to prevent fraudsters from misusing it or, filtering out fraudsters in the campaigns?
Yeah, so in our case, our platform is built on blockchain, which ensures trust, transparency, data privacy. But most important part over here is we are offering consumers rewards for watching free premium content. And these rewards can be redeemed for exciting prizes, exclusive offers, etc. So it is a very, very important piece for us when it comes to mobile numbers. They serve as unique identifiers for these unique users. We have to ensure that there are no fraudsters that can make any kind of misuse because our business model is built on that. And hence, mobile numbers are very, very important and a key ingredient for our user profile and user journey as well.
Thank you, everyone. All the points were very insightful. We are running a little short on time, but there are a few good audience questions actually that we should have some time to answer. And I like this one. So there's a question which asks how to reach the rural population where technology is not so common. Who would like to go for that?
I can take that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so look, I think Rajesh said it pretty well, saying technology should follow business and business can't follow technology. So let's not say that how will technology take us? There are many, many case studies, and I think Unilever has done that in parts, of Bihar, Uttarakhand, etc. And this is just an example that I'm giving you guys of saying that if there are feature phones and not smartphones, how do we build reach over there to consumers through internet radio? So there are various mechanisms and various case studies of how one can get to rural. There are reach mechanisms which are existing across various parts. I would say don't just use technology in pure tech terms, but use it more for interactivity. And then there is a wide world to communicate with in terms of pan-India reach.
Yeah, the only thing I would add is I've been watching this company Zoho, right, on the B2B SaaS side, and they've made it a point not only to go rural in terms of their business, but also set up their delivery center or set up their second headquarters in Tenkasi in South Tamil Nadu. And the CEO famously took a NASCOM session with the NASCOM president from this truck that is standing in front of his small house in the farm there. So he speaks a lot about how to enable citizens in the rural community, and they do a lot of tier 2, tier 3 regional media, advertising, regional media, PR, etc. So again, a lot of companies are taking it as a mission to enable rural India, right? And some of the things he was saying was when he looks at hiring talent from rural India, they are all learning from Khan Academy, and you will not really think of that as the case. But I think this 4G and being identified with rural India as you market to rural India, right, is something that I learned from Zoho. Really fascinating what they do.
Okay, so we have few more, and we're running against time, but let me touch upon this. And Rajesh, probably I'll ask you this, right? Do you see a large part of marketing decisions in the new future will be replaced by AI?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I always think, like I said, human intelligence is too large and too complex, and AI is still scratching the surface. I mean, beyond science fiction and movies, that is. I mean, a typical case, we deploy AI, for example, when we do automation of expense statements, to figure out to read handwritten bills, to figure out which amount is tip, which amount is the bill, which is a hotel bill, which is a cab bill, which is obviously intelligent. But as humans, we never think of that as a very intelligent work. So I think it's always going to be helping us make smarter decisions and take care of the large operational load, therefore freeing human endeavor from the mundane and making time for the creative and the empathetic work that we most enjoy doing, we were designed to do. That somewhere the day-to-day mundane routine stuff took over. I mean, you look at the typical day, 80% of the 80% can be mundane work which nobody enjoys. Actually, people hate. That's why we're seeing when people are deploying AI or RPA in government scenarios, they're happy because they are tired of pushing paper and electronic form, which is not the same thing every time. So I think it's very handy, very useful, but no substitute for human.
Okay, so I think we'll have time for a couple of more questions. So this is an interesting question again, which is what are the challenges faced in acclimatizing various levels of an organization to new technology? How do you ensure that move is smooth? And Karthik, I'll ask this to you because I know you did mention about CEOs not directly setting KPIs for CMOs directly, which I think in a sense also talks about pretty much this question, right? How do you drive this technology within the organization?
No, I think one of the things I do is monitor SaaS ecosystem and the SaaS startups, right? So today, technology adoption, app adoption also is a very hot space within the SaaS ecosystem. There are many ideas and many startups that are coming in to solve this. So when you introduce a new technology, I guess that's the question, right? How do you make it successful? How do you ensure that
I would within the different levels of organization, right? So
yes. No, I remember during our SAP days, Rajesh knows this better. There is this whole concept of go live, celebrating it, and again ensuring that there is like a business stakeholder committee and all that stuff. So those were the days. But I think today technology is introduced so fast, and it fails so fast that the users don't adopt, and users also bring technology with their handphones. Today, there exists digital adoption platforms. There's a company called WhatFix that is disrupting this space. And there's multiple innovations around how do you make the user experience and how do you measure things constantly and hack things around that, right? So I think especially within marketing, let's say when marketing introduces a new technology, it could be a new email system, it could be a new digital system, it could be a script that you want your employees to follow. It could be a chat system. So there are many systems marketing could introduce. But whenever where the technology fails is when there is a user experience, when it's easy for the user to adopt it without disrupting their daily needs, right? So that's where marketing needs to understand the internal pulse, if I have to say that way, and constantly experiment to see, like an engineering organization will do, constantly experiment to see why people are adopting, why people are not adopting, and keep that daily cadence floating around.
Thanks, Karthik. So unfortunately we've run out of time. There were a few more questions which we will probably not be able to answer today. But I'd like to take this opportunity to thank three of you for taking time out. IMAI for this session, and also would like to thank all the guests who joined us for this session. I do hope you found it useful. Thank you.
Yeah. No, thanks to you, Snehashis, for moderating, and thanks, Shrishti,
Thank you
for
so much.
coordinating. Thanks, Rajesh.
Thanks, audience, and thanks, IMAI.
Thank you, speakers, for an amazing discussion. Thank you to our moderator, Mr. Khan, for keeping the discussion relevant, significant, and so exciting.